Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the Neuro AI World, the Neurodiversity India Summit 2022. I am Anupama, a data science professional, a sustainability enthusiast, a mom, and a neurodiversity advocate. For this summit, I am bringing you a fireside chat in the form of perspectives and experiences that experts, advocates, and neurodivergents would like to share on how and what organizations can do to promote neurodiversity as a part of their diversity initiatives. So please join me in welcoming our guests, Rakshita, Dipti, Aniket, and Dr. Kirti. So let's quickly dive in to listen to who they are and what they have to share. So, hi everyone. My name is Anupama, and I am a data science by profession. And I am a mom to my 5-year-old daughter. So, I would say, I am a neurodiversity advocate. And my journey actually started when I was a Teach for India fellow. And that's the time where I was introduced to the whole term neurodiversity. Because as a teacher, then I was actually helping, not helping, helping wouldn't be the right word. I was, in fact, understanding two students of mine who were at that time diagnosed as autistic. And it was then that it is from that stage, and this is right when I'm talking from 2014. And that's my journey from till date, where I'm just reading and understanding more about neurodiversity.
Hi, everybody. Shekhar. I live in Bangalore. I'm an educator and a consultant for disability rights organizations, and I'm reading this out because who will remember all these details? I have a master's in intellectual and developmental disabilities, and I have worked extensively as a teacher in both general education and special education. I am very passionate about pedagogy, autism, and inclusion, and I am an ardent advocate for autistic children and adults. I write poetry, essays, talks. I do a lot of talks on this and training programs. And I hope to teach the society that they can and they must rely on disabled people to solve the world's biggest problems.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Deepti. By profession, I'm a web developer, and just one thing that I would like to share. I used to connect with yoga when I was in seventh standard, and I don't know the reason that why I connected with yoga, but I really like the idea that I can breathe deeply in yoga, and I realized that I could never do that ever when I'm not doing yoga. So it was in seventh standard. At 27, I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I can see when I reflect back, I can connect every dot that why I am the way I am and what I need to uh, to be the part of this system. Okay, so that's one thing I learned after being diagnosed with ADHD. And yeah, that's it about me. I'm gonna just happy to share my experiences with you all today.
Hi everyone, myself Dr. Gehlot. I'm a radiologist by profession. I live in Delhi and I work in a government hospital as assistant professor. I'm a single mother to a 10-year-old boy who was diagnosed with ADHD and autism when he was 3 years of age. And since then, my life has been on a roller coaster ride, trying to manage him, trying to manage me, trying to manage both of us together. And I happen to have few episodes of depression myself. and in having difficulty in learning, trying to decode how to manage him, I came across some videos. I was searching about ADHD and how to manage my son. That's when I came across few videos of Dr. Russell Barkley, and I felt that he's talking about me. And that was like at the age of 40, I got the realization that he's talking about me, and that's when I realized that I'm ADHD myself, and an unmanaged ADHD is trying to manage another unmanaged ADHD. That's why it was becoming difficult. And since then, I want to I want to learn what is ADHD. I want to. So all my life, I have had many coping mechanisms to deal with it, but I want to be an ADHD coach in future to be not just cope with this neurodiversity, but actually thrive with it, to learn, not just learn how to survive, to actually bring out the best. This I want to teach to the world, to the ADHD people.
So my name's Aniket Kadam. I've been an Android engineer for like 10 years. Uh, I only I first found out I was autistic like 2 years ago, and then my spouse Dipti, she she got like after she got diagnosed with ADHD, she thought I also have ADHD, and I have to reluctantly agree. I notice all of my autistic traits, but all the ADHD things kind of go under the radar. Like I never notice when that happens. It's like I forget that I have ADHD, and only she has to notice and tell me. So I've had a pretty good career, and I think like one really interesting thing is if you have both autism and ADHD, they can mix in different ways depending on the person. So many, so even though about 70% of autistics have ADHD, uh, often if they have ADHD, they'll be diagnosed with only ADHD. That's happened to like two of my friends now. They are very clearly autistic to me, but they're only diagnosed with ADHD. But my autism is like so overpowering of everything else. I'm diagnosed as only autistic and not ADHD.
Rakshita, do you want to start? You want to go first with sharing um, about connecting over your experiences?
When we were all having our first discussion about this, how in the littlest of things we struggle, or when one of us says, uh, say, I've been sitting on my to-do list from morning since morning because I don't know where to start and how to prioritize, and the others are laughing, not because there's something wrong with me, but because they can relate so much to that feeling. And that kind of gets all of us together, bonding.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the neurodiversity community.
First, whenever you guys were just giving your introduction, I can just relate to every feeling that you were putting out, like how you felt after and before. Yes, Rakshita is very correct. We more than we as a people, we connect more with the situation, and that's it. Like I see us as a, I don't know, it's not individual, but just one. So I guess because of the experiences that you all shared, and everything was like when I heard Kirti said that, oh, I had a depression, and my immediate reaction was like, oh, like it was like that. And because I have been in depression for 5 years, very badly, without knowing that I have ADHD or anything, and it was the worst period that I can think in my life. So just just knowing that others also had that thing and they came out of it, it's something big, and that's why we should connect more with neurodivergent and share things.
And it feels like, yes, same pinch, huggy karke rote, chalo.
Yeah.
Rakshita and her sense of humor.
I want to ask Aniket this question. And since that Dipti just mentioned about um, about even being in a stage of even being diagnosed. Getting diagnosed in itself is like an awareness for a lot of people, and for a lot of us. Um, what do you think is? Um, I mean, how do you think this whole idea of also creating an awareness that, okay, whether you are an ADHD or you look to be autistic, what are the things that one should start identifying that, okay, this could be an ADHD, you seem to be an ADHD, or you seem to be autistic, or you are neurodivergent?
If I
Um,
want to say about Aniket, okay, I'll just say some few things. Aniket has so many habits. He doesn't remember his clothes. He doesn't remember anything. He just remembers one thing, that is the computer. Where is his computer and phone and his ebook reader, and
I
that's
wonder
it.
where my phone is or my
Yeah.
email.
If you ask him what he ate in the morning, he has to think, that he forgets, and he literally forgets. So, and I was like, so instead of giving a gali to each other, we just say, you ADHD, you autistic, we just say that to because we kind of think of it as an ADHD trademark, and then it's just a kind of a reminder also, that
Yeah.
because this kind of habits, actually most of the fights are there for that reason. So I think, yeah, we just try to back it up with that.
Yeah, but that's great, Dipti. At least I would just add here is that the two of you are aware about these situations, and then you can talk on that level. But I'm talking of a scenario where people are not aware itself.
Okay. All right. So I think the most common experience for neurodivergence is probably being called lazy. If you feel like you're working very, very hard, and yet you feel like, why can't you do the same things as everybody else around you seems to be able to do, that's probably something you should look into, because that is that is executive dysfunction. You're trying but you can't, and you can't. It's not like you're not trying hard enough. You cannot. And I find that if you feel guilty
Lazy and
about,
irresponsible.
yeah, that, so if you've been called that while you've been trying very hard, while you know you've been trying hard, even if you've been told you're not trying, especially if you've been told you're not trying, then you probably have some kind of neurodivergence. And both autistics and ADHD share executive dysfunction, so might be either one of those or something else. But that is probably the most common sign. I like so and memory, like any individual thing, is not very reliable, because one time I dropped a key and I was feeling sad that, oh, okay, I don't know where I dropped it. And then one time I thought, like, okay, let me retrace my steps of that day. I walked I walked out of the place where we were staying, out onto the road. I know exactly how I walked, like which path I took on the road to reach that part of the road. And I looked down where I thought I talked to somebody, and that's where I may have dropped it. I dig around in the mud a bit with my fingers, and I pull out the key. So I managed to walk to the exact spot that I had dropped this key like 3 4 days ago. But yes, if you ask me where my phone is right now, okay, I can see it right now. But if I didn't see it right now, I wouldn't know where it was. So it's kind of like a spiky profile that way. And because of that, if you ask someone a question like, is your memory bad? I can objectively say yes and no. It is both good and it is bad. And I find that this is the biggest problem with tests written by neurotypicals. They
Right.
don't understand like dynamic disability, the day-to-day experience of ADHD people. And someone may just be working 10 times harder to do everything in the house, and they would ask, are you not able to do things? And but they would say, no, I do everything in the house, because they have been tortured since childhood to do that. So they can, even though it's damaging their mental health. So these are like very unreliable questions, and I'd ask you to keep them in mind. Another reliable signal I found is, if while you're answering this question, if you are tempted to respond with a paragraph for a for like a tick, then you're also probably neurodivergent. And what they're looking for in those tests is neurotypical, like a neurotypical would have a straightforward answer. They would be yes, unqualified yes. Or for like something like, do you forget things? They might just say no, not at all, whether they forget them or not. But the point is that they don't have a big essay of an answer for it.
So you mean to say that they are very clear? Their clarity is...
I wouldn't say they're clear. I say so neurotypicals are especially not clear, especially to autistics. They're vague as hell. That's why their questions are vague as hell. But they don't doubt themselves.
So, how are you?
So they feel clear to themselves, even if they are not.
Yeah, like, how are you? Nice. What's the point of that question? Can somebody please explain to me? Who are never supposed to answer truthfully to that question.
And nobody answers
And
to
yet,
that question.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
has to say fine. If
yeah,
you're not fine,
exactly.
you never say I'm not fine.
Yeah, and if you say I'm not fine, they'll look at you very weirdly and they'll walk off. They're not interested in any answer beyond fine.
Normally, I know I forgot this tool. I forgot this once while I was talking to my manager at the time, and he's like, "Wow, sounds like needs." And I was like, "Oh wait, I forgot you're not supposed to answer this question honestly."
Right. Now that brings me to another question, and this question is to you, Dr. Kirti, specifically, and coming in from more of a maybe a clinical perspective, where, like as Aniket mentioned, that was about memory, right? And that's the experience that he shared about memory, about he walking back to find his lost
Psycho key.
key. So, what is it about memory for neurodiverse people?
I'm not sure about autism, but with ADHD, the working memory is very limited. It's like working memory is like the online memory, जिसको हम we keep referring to again and again. Suppose I'm making a list of 10 things in mind. So that mental list is being written on working memory. So for neurotypicals, it is very easy to remember 10 things, 20 things, 30 things. They keep on juggling in their brains. But for neurodiverse people, that memory is very short. So if you're juggling with one thing and suddenly if something else comes, the brain automatically erases this and puts this. So things get automatically wiped off to take another information. And that's where we suddenly forget things. And I also have a very interesting example the way Aniket gave. He found his keys. So whenever I lose anything in my house and if I have to find anything important, then and I'm not able to find it, then the my next step is okay. So suppose that thing is in my right hand right now, or agar mujhe if I have to keep it safe right now, where will I keep it? And then I go and keep it somewhere, and then I imagine myself keeping it somewhere, and then I find that lost thing exactly at the same place. So the memory is not there, but the way my brain is working is the same. So the pattern is there. So that is
Actually,
how I
what you're referring to is muscle memory, which I also find that I'm very good with my muscle memory. If I keep things in my house, I arrange the items in the shelves. I can remember them. I have a very, very, very poor visual memory. Not everything is a कि memory नहीं है, उनका memory problem होता है, they keep forgetting, is a very, very generalized, bad way to understand executive functioning or working memory or the challenges that the executive dysfunction brings. I think what we should look at is how else does the brain remember? If not the working memory, how else does the brain remember? Does it remember by seeing? Does it remember by hearing? Like I'm pretty good with um, my auditory memory too. Not as good as muscle memory, but I absolutely cannot remember what I see. I used to have a huge issue during school um, to learn diagram because I can't remember what I see. And I would write the diagram some 100,000 times so that it somehow stays in my muscle memory, and then I can reproduce it in the exam. But even then, I would find that it's very difficult for me to reproduce diagrams. Neurodiversity is not a diagnosis. Neurodiversity is not a label. What if we want to know if we are neurodiverse or not? I mean, so the whole, it's like saying, am I, if I'm an animal, if I'm a tiger, am I part of the diversity in tigers? Of course I am. Everybody is. Every animal is. What we should be thinking about is that probably most um, most uh, tigers are like the Bengal tiger, and the Siberian tiger is very, very, very different. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
It's easier to take the analogy of animals because there is inherent diversity in animals. For example, our region, the black ant might be more common, and then that is typical, and the red ant is neurodiverse. So it also, so no, so what I'm trying to say is that when we are thinking of neurodiversity, it's, and whether we are neurodiverse or not, it's easier to go back to your experiences and check if your experiences have been typical for your culture, for your gender, for your race, for your caste, as a starting point, just a starting point. Because we need to understand that neurodiversity can also be, or neurodivergence can also be acquired. So, for example, the brain gets altered when we have chronic depression or chronic anxiety. And those can be brought on by the environment that we're living in.
Thanks for sharing that. That's new to me.
Yeah,
So,
even that's new to me. Acquired neurodiversity, I was not aware of it.
yes. So my question to Dipti, and that's coming from Rakshita's point about executive functions. And since, how do you deal with this? I mean, in this world when you're working, and we know that we have executive dysfunctions. So how do you deal with this?
So my day is actually usually like that: how to get motivation, do the work, sleep whenever you want to sleep, eat whenever you want to eat, and it's okay. The only thing that I get very disturbed with when I have pressure, with from people or some other thing, still I can't handle it. And I have realized I don't want to fight myself with that. I don't want to work under pressure. And I'm I have already gotten fired before, and I'm still okay to get fired in future, because it has to be always communicated well and all that. So I guess this is my limitation. I know this is my boundary, and I'm going to keep. So these are all the things that first you have to make yourself feel safe. You're gonna stand up for yourself, And when you do that, your brain will support you because your brain trusts you more.
Right.
And this is what I have achieved with my daily practice of walking, eating good, exercising. Crying is also there. You need that.
That's
I
a good
mean,
thing. That's a
yeah,
good thing, right? To cry, it's a good thing.
it's a good thing. And so I don't take any of my action, crying or cribbing or getting angry, as a negative, because I think, okay, I need to let it out, and that's why I did it. But maybe if I hurt someone else, then I have to consider. But otherwise, people say लड़कियों को शांत रहना चाहिए, मतलब the kind of thing, ये सब ये सब सब बकवास है. It doesn't work, and one cannot survive like that longer.
So
I
I'm
just want to mention that wherever she has worked, she has been one of their best engineers.
And
wow.
that was the
And
shocking thing
she
for
still
me.
gets fired because of other things, which
I
is every
I
time
didn't
you heard it, it's the company's fault.
I didn't get fired. I keep that as my option. I'm open to get fired, but I resigned. I give up because I know that I can't survive.
Yeah, because you have an out of box thinking, and not everyone has got the capacity to take that out of the box thinking, maybe.
They get insulted. Like she's worked with senior men and they're annoyed that she's doing it better than them after seeing it for like one day. They've been working with this for months. She has a better solution in one day.
And I'm going to ask this question to you, Dr. Kirti, that as Dipti mentioned, she mentioned about energy. Can you share something more about how is it for ADHD brains, autistic brains, about energy and when they're working? So if there are things which interests them, their energy levels are different versus something which is mundane, their energy levels are different.
For a neurodiverse person, it is very important to have a list of things that you love doing, to always be aware and be present to that list. And whenever you are in that zone when you are feeling low energy, or you just shuffle like menu, like a menu, you should have a menu of things that, okay, I'm not feeling like doing this, okay, then can I do this? No. Can I do this? Can I read a book? Oh no, I don't want to read it. Should I dance? No. Do am I willing to sing? Wow, yes, yes. And then suddenly you'll get that boost of energy, and you will be like, today I'm a singer. Today I can't do anything else. Today I can sing. But tomorrow, if you ask me to sing, I might just suck at it. No, I don't want to do this. If I don't want to do this, my energy levels will be like crashed like hell. So one thing is this, that your energy levels, you are crazy if you are in the right direction. So you'll be like always energetic. You'll never go down on that. But second thing is reward system. So I think most of the influencers in today's world, most of the people with YouTube channels, most of the people on Instagram, I think they need to get themselves checked, because I think they're neurodiverse, because our brain is constantly wanting that reward. And these people, those who are on social media, even if they are drinking water, they want to get that thing. Hey friends, see, I'm drinking water, and then somebody's liking, and now they're happy. The autistic experience of reward finding, I think that it definitely does not find reward in social identity. So, for example, 10 people are saying, very good, very good, very good, and therefore I will keep dancing, because more and more people will, children do that. Even adults do that when they get attention. And that's a social thing, that's a social reward. I don't think autistic uh, brains are oriented to social rewards. And what happens then is that a lot of times um, it looks very, very odd, because when, like, that's where, say, a non autistic child might smile. When another person smiles, they might smile back, because very soon they learn that if you smile, the other person will like you. And more people will like you if you smile, if you look at them, if you talk to them nicely, cutely, all of that. Autistic children may not do this because for them, the reward does not center on their social identity and their place in a social system.
Right.
They might smile at, suppose if they're interested in dinosaurs and you get them a dinosaur model or a book on the classification of dinosaurs, the 4-year-old autistic child who is very interested in dinosaurs might have a huge smile on his face and might laugh and might actually be so happy. When they're testing autism, most of their tests, like they've diagnosed children as young as 16 weeks for autism, and they check for eye contact because eye contact, smile, all these are social behaviors which a person will engage in because they find reward in the social identity. But if autistic people do not find reward in the social identity, they will not engage in those social behaviors. And all these behaviorist models have come about because they have started believing that autistic people cannot find reward. That's what they believe, okay? That that autistic people do not. It's difficult to give them rewards. Therefore, you need to give them objects for rewards, like a toy or like a biscuit, a chocolate, and that's what therapists do. For all we know, the child might not be saying their name when asked because in their head they're thinking, read it from my file. Why do you have to ask me? And yet, because we think that social motivation is the only reward that people get, and we don't realize people can be rewarded by other things as well. And in the ADHD brain, being able to know when this is going to end, being able to know what else can I do when I'm restless, so can I walk around, is a reward for them.
Yeah.
Unless we recognize, and this is diversity.
Right.
Instead of assuming that everybody's reward is
the same,
what other people think of them as status, assuming that from there going to, okay, different people find rewards in different things.
Bringing in this thought of remote working spaces, virtual working, what do you think? How convenient it is for autistic brains and ADHD brains in this working in a secluded way, and what should companies actually do?
I guess what I missed in my offices was a clear communication and a neutral tone when you communicate. That was, I cannot take extreme anger or extreme happiness or extreme of anything when I want to work. I just want, yes, this is how it should be, and this is what you have to do, and this is how it's going to help us. If you work on this feature, this is where it contributes, and that's it.
There's this very good book for I think it's just called Boundaries, and it shows you how to set them. It's not specifically for neurodivergence, it's for people in general, because I think boundaries is something a lot of people struggle with. And then like that can be really beneficial, because then I have specific boundaries for what kind of place I want to work for, and then I begin interviewing, and I would reject a place if it doesn't match the criteria I'm looking for. And I could go through a couple of ones, fine, but then I find a place that really works for me, and that helps you have like a very good career. So if you contrast that to someone who continues to not care about their boundaries, even neurotypicals, they would have worse careers for that. But if you learn this thing, then you can have a much better career than people usually do. So, like getting back to the question of what kind of workplace is good, I think it's very important that like to have a sensory safe environment. And if you're a neurotypical person running the office, you have to ask and believe neurodivergence about what is the problem. If they say something makes a noise, it makes a noise. Maybe you don't hear it, but it does. And that's it. Like, you just have to believe that. Because even now I run into people who are like, is that making a noise? I'm like, I can turn around and you can do it, and I'll tell you exactly when you're doing it, because I know when it's making a noise. So lights, sounds, so many things. And because of all of that, the most practical thing is often to just work remotely, because then you can leave them to make their home a very sensory safe environment, at least a predictable one. So at least they know where the sound is going to come from, if not completely silent. So that helps tremendously. And the difference in productivity is huge. Like, if I am not disturbed, I could do a ton of work in 1 hour. And if I am disturbed, I may be forced to like just sleep for an hour. So I could get a shutdown, I could hyper focus. As long as I'm allowed to control my environment, this would be great. And one thing I find is that the kinds of things that Dipti picks up on, the expressions of people, the way they explain problems, I feel that if you follow in an office, if you just listen to everything that all the ADHD and autistic people are telling you, you will end up with one of the best workplaces that exists. Because all of these things that bother us, they bother neurotypicals too, just not as much. And if you make it good enough for us, it'll be a like royalty for anybody else.
I think it's so. If you have to, it's very important to identify whether you are ADHD or autism or both, because there are dynamics are a bit different. So for ADHD, working in a place with pressing deadlines all the time, all the day, every minute doesn't work. They need freedom. Uh, but there are many corporate places where like they work on this concept of deadline, 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 deadline. So I think creativity and freedom. So like there should be a task and there should be that freedom to engage yourself in that task, to immerse yourself in that task, to be creative with that task is something that is required for ADHD brain. And ADHD, so as Aniket said, they would, so like he would want to work remotely. I think it doesn't work like that for ADHD people. ADHD people need people, but at the same time, they need that respectable boundary, which they are not able to create themselves. And if people learn to create those human boundaries, they which they need to make with even neurotypicals. I think that was a very very beautiful point that Aniket made, that all these things bother everyone, but if they start listening to us, and if they start giving importance to all those needs, those little needs, those sensory needs, those social needs, those emotional needs, if companies start thinking in that direction, I think it will be really a working paradise for rest of the neurotypicals. It will be just good enough for us, but it will be really heavenly for all of them. That
Sure.
was a beautiful point.
And one more question to you again, Dr. Kirti, and that is about clean desk policy. How does that work? In fact, that's a open
So is
question.
that even a policy?
Yeah, that's a policy for a lot of companies.
You have to explain.
So how do you sorry, Aniket, you were saying
You have to
something.
explain what that is, because I've never heard this.
So your desk has to be organized, fully organized, maybe with minimal things. There is a lot of clarity, less things, organized things. That's what I'm trying to ask you. So a
Yeah, so
clean,
there's something
non-messy desk.
this has to be given to the employee as an option whether you want this kind of a desk or you want that kind of a desk. There should be two kind of desks. One should be like clean desk and one should be like visible desk. So for ADHD brain, they have that object. They struggle with object permanence. They can only remember things that they see. So if you give me an option of choosing a desk, I'll choose a desk that has 100 shelves in it and everything is like one hand away. I'll just go there and take it, and I'll just go here and take it. It should not be covered. There should not be covers. And I think this is I attended one of the meetings, international ADHD meetings, and all the speakers, all the authors who have written good books on ADHD, who were ADHD themselves, their chambers were small, like a table width and a table length, but everything was like visible. Like the walls were like, those book walls that we see. They had those hundreds of little. So the alarm was also there. The pens were also there. The diaries were also there. Books were also there. Everything was there. So I think it should be optional. It should not be compulsion because ADHD. So that is why ADHD people are, they look messy because everything is like you can see all the piles of things, but it's not actually a mess. They are trying to keep things visible. So there should be some system to bring that visibility into that desk. So
You're basically describing something that Marie Kondo does in The Joy of Cleaning. So the highest professional standard of how your workplace is supposed to be organized is the bare minimum of what ADHD people need.
Nice. Do you want to say something here?
yeah, I've read that book half. No, the biggest principle Marie Kondo says is like keep things that spark joy. So this is one tip for anyone. If you are struggling with decluttering, you just should I throw it? Should I not throw it? ADHD people are hoarders also. Should I keep it? Should I not keep it? Then you just have to take this thing in hand and imagine: is this sparking any joy in me in my life? Yes, I'll not throw it. No, I can throw it. So like this is the criteria, Marie Kondo.
Mine is a bit opposite. Because I want minimal things, I like to throw things away. So I feel bad to throw things away. So I follow that Marie Kondo that you served me very well. Thank you so much. And then I threw. And this has become this is so helpful for me because now I don't regret it also that I'm giving away certain things which I have not even used because if I don't touch it, I don't like that thing to be there.
So companies should have one more policy if they want to include neurodiversity, and if they want to, if we want to be more inclusive, the way education, in order to make education inclusive, you had to start schools having special educators, counselors. Same way, companies, they have those, maybe some mental health professional counselors, but not trained in special uh, this neurodiversity section. So I think companies should have people who are very good at diagnosing or identifying neurodiversity, and if any employee is having problems or struggles, then they can identify and give the proper support so that the same person can perform better.
With the present systems, diagnosis is a choice. If somebody wants to go ahead with it, it's okay, because diagnosis comes with a lot of negative stigma, denial of opportunity, ostracization. So diagnosis should be a choice. But I absolutely agree with you that there should be therapists who are trained in providing support and figuring out workplace support needs. Um, you were all discussing about uh, how you you like your office space to be. I like my office space to be very organized. I have a calendar on the wall, which I've made on my own. I have timetables. I use a lot of stationery. It's mostly clean and neat and organized. because I have almost zero visual memory. So if there is clutter, I won't be able to find anything. It visually overwhelms me.
Mm-hmm.
So if my need is completely opposite from the next person's need, how do we then negotiate? Like, we have to negotiate. That's what I mean. I mean, we have to negotiate and come to a middle ground. Accommodations are all about negotiation.
Sure.
It's about having flexibility. It's about having choice and the autonomy to do what I think supports me. If one person finds the light too much, there might be another person who wants that light to function properly. Then how do you have these two people in the same room? Give them different switches to operate their own lives or operate their own desks. Allow them to wear caps.
Yeah. The way you have in aeroplane.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, if you want to bring your, like how Kirti was saying, cabinet for the wall where small pigeonholes where everything is visible. It's neat, it's organized, and it's also supporting you because because everything is visible to you, and there's minimal stuff on the table. But is that allowed? Yes, they allow you to bring a photograph and pin it up on the notice board, but that's not all the support that people need. So how can you give more choice to people to bring in their supports? So for example, and about support, I have this very strong view that every human being needs support. Humans are interdependent animals. Nobody is independent. Everybody needs support. But there are some support things that we understand. Like when a woman is pregnant, we will automatically give up a chair for her. We will not expect her to take the stairs 4 or 5 floors. When a person has fever, you understand what support they need. You will give them a leave. You will allow them to do minimal work for those 2-3 days. Not expect a lot of productivity from them, because we understand what support that body needs.
Right.
But we don't understand what support neurodivergent brains and bodies need. And the problem is, even neurodivergent people most of the times don't understand.
Yes.
Because all our lives we've been told it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, your body is wrong, the way your body's reacting is wrong. And we don't learn. So if organizations can have these therapists who figure out if there is a clinical way, not clinical way, like a clinical policy, where you figure out the person's support needs.
Let's say your organization offers, say, to pay for therapy, right? But then I want to be able to take that without you knowing who in the office went for therapy. And you have to have like minimum 50 employees and not know who went. And then I could take such a thing. And of course, it's beyond the concept of you even knowing who somebody went to. Because if I see a corporate therapist, I'm like, this is like some professional secret stealer.
Yeah.
Okay, I would not trust
Stealer.
that.
Yeah, because he'll go report to my manager about what I said.
What's stopping him from that? The only way that would stop that is if the company doesn't know who that is, and if the company doesn't know who the therapist is, and if the company doesn't know who is going to a therapist at all, They can know, okay, one person went, two people went, they have to have accounting, but they cannot know who it is. The system has to be in such a way. And as low tech as possible would be good, because working in tech, I know exactly all the ways we can get data without anyone knowing.
Yeah, you can't have them on the same payroll. They have to be autonomous.
So what I hear from this discussion is that two things are very important. One is about privacy, about an employee sharing his, her, their experiences. That has to be maintained. And of course, definitely, there's a huge policy shift which is required overall. And when we're talking about policy shifts, it's and a very important point is that when policies are made, so policies, the people who are making those policies should also be including neurodivergent people. That's where perspectives will come in.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it should not just include, they should have veto power on the policies.
Definitely. In the interest of time, I want to take a last question, and this question is about ableism and internalized ableism.
I asked few months back, a question on Twitter that what is one word that you would like to delete it from your mind, that it shouldn't have existed? And for me, it was confidence, because it's such a stupid word and it doesn't make sense. In the interviews, you are judged by your confidence. When you, even for normal things in the house, you are judged by your confidence. It is very wrong, because I have done everything in my life without confidence and it worked. I helped people, I have done a job, I have done the house work, everything I have done, but I didn't have confidence. There are so many certain words like confidence, competence. No, this is all bullshit created by somebody, which shouldn't have existed. It has ruined so many people's life. This is like a bullied ableism, because this is how you're bullying it. So this is what I felt happened to me, and I have wasted my time. Now I don't care. Now I don't think that I don't remember the last time I used the word confidence at all. I don't use it. Just delete such things. So yeah, for me, from my side, this is one biggest ableism, that bullied ableism actually. It's all thing. Yeah.
I think for me, it because of this ableism or the concept of being able to do everything, it gives me a lot of need to mask my disability, and I think that is the reason I am a personality. I think that is the reason why we learn to mask and we learn to pretend somebody to be someone who we are not.
One of the biggest things which we run into is like the infantilization of autistics, or to believe that if you can see them speak, then they're intelligent, or if you can even read what they write, then they're intelligent. First of all, every autistic that I have ever interacted with, speaking or non-speaking, has been an incredible writer or speaker. So, and you would never know that if you base your idea of how competent they are from how confident they look. So both of these concepts are so deeply flawed, you will completely misunderstand a person if you rely on them. I think one of the biggest things that companies can do to support neurodivergence is to simply go do your research, led by autistics, led by ADHD people, with research groups who you pay of other autistic and ADHD people, find out what works with all of them, and give these supports to everyone. You also should, if your diversity program requires you to know who is neurodiverse, it's broken. If your diversity program requires that a neurotypical has the veto power of what to implement or what to not implement, it's broken. These decisions cannot be made by neurotypical people.
Right.
They do not have the skills to do this job of planning programs for neurodiverse people, of even collecting what their needs are, or even picking who should be in this program. They can work under neurodivergent leadership at their direction with supervision, but they cannot lead this because they do not have the skill and they cannot gain that skill.
Wow.
You can sit learning a lifetime, but my entire lifetime is my experience. I have
Right.
32 years of autism experience.
One last thing that you would want to say to the listeners and the audience.
Go where you're celebrated. Believe that your experiences are real. Refuse to compromise on any kind of happiness. Take that money, take that good work environment, take that satisfying job and a fulfilling relationship. And if you don't have any one of these anywhere, leave and go find that place where you will get them. And from that place of power, you can come back and tell people, I got this. Nothing will convince them as well as seeing you live that life. There's no need to tell them in words. Go live your best life and just tell them that you are.
I want to say what neurodiversity is. It's a fact. It's a biological fact. It exists just like how different hair colors exist, different skin tones exist, different heights exist, different brains exist. Neurologists have always known this. Um, there's no point in saying you are only good enough if you can climb the tree. The monkey can climb, the cheetah can climb, the cat can climb, the lizard can climb, but you know what? You're going to miss out on the fish and a lot of other species. I think organizations need to ask what do we really want to test in people? Do we want to test their ability to fly? Then you're only going to get birds. And you're going to miss out on the awesomeness of a dolphin.
Organizations is one perspective. I think this is what Rakshita you said. This is something which I realized when I joined my fellowship, and when I was in the part of this fellowship, and that is where this whole quote of Einstein comes in, is that if you judge a fish by climbing a tree, the entire life, the fish is going to think that it's stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that in a very macro picture is not just to organizations. I think it is to the entire education system and the entire upbringing.
It's on the society.
Yes.
And I mean, it really talks about the concept of ableism, but then also what do you really want to see in your people? You only want you're only going to reward animals that can fly. You're going to miss out on the awesomeness that the dolphin has to offer to your organization. The awesome and mind you, when the dolphin comes, you'll have to give it water to swim. You can't just get the dolphin.
Right.
The awesomeness of the dolphin is only going to be there when you give it water. Without that, it's going to die.
Thank you, everyone, for sparing so much time and actually having this discussion.